we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today, I'm joined by my amazing guests, Sub Commander Tall and Captain Fuhrer, spelled
How's it going,
spelled
guys?
like spelled like excitement. Hello, hello, Captain Fuhrer. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I mean, I left the sea a couple of years ago. I've been out to sea for a while. I got back to town, and everybody's going Hail Fuhrer, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I don't see why, but
Indeed, indeed. We're missing a couple of guests. They'll be along. We're casual and informal, and so part of that means like I can never really hold anyone to like start times or anything like that. So if you ever want to, it's like a revolving door. You can just hop on, hop off whenever you want. It's no big deal. Were you gonna say something, Sub Commander?
No, I
Oh,
wasn't. But
I heard
hey,
like
everybody, how's it going?
I
Yeah,
was trying to anticipate because I heard like a, and then I was like,
now
oh,
that you've
okay.
been singled out,
yeah, no.
Now that I singled you out, actually, I am gonna single out. I'm gonna put myself down here, by the way, because I like being. I don't
Right.
know. It's just like symmetry. There we
like
go.
being,
It
oh,
feels
never
it
mind.
feels good to
That's
be
a
down here. I don't know
after
why.
dark
It's
joke.
like comfortable. It feels like I'm on the floor, which is really nice. Yay, Captain Killy! Look at you. How are you?
Oh, hang
Oh,
on. Thing.
Oh, okay.
I love the hair.
Yeah, your hair looks great. Well, she can't hear you yet though, so
Oh, okay.
let me just.
Hold on, I'll call her up on my Nokia. It'd be awesome if this thing turned on. I had like some old message I'd forgotten about. I'd just be like, whoa.
It would actually that would be amazing.
It says your car warranty is expiring, and you need to.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can you hear us?
Oh, damn. What is all my power beats? They are going crazy.
Oh, whoa.
Hang on a sec. If I disconnect, I can hear you.
All right, can you hear us now?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, but we also hear. Oh, let me help you. You could turn on echo cancellation. Hold on, I think that works. Let me see here. Oh, it is on. Okay, hello, hello, testing 1 2 3. Okay, good. I think the echoes.
I don't hear the echo.
Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you, Captain Tilly?
I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, Captain Killy. You're Captain Killy today, actually.
Oh, no, we don't like
It's appropriate for this episode. It's like a Mirror Universe type of vibe.
And I thought I'd up the wig from Captain Fuhrer going on there.
Ah, there you go.
He also brought some props. He has like old cell phones and stuff like that. It's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
This is like a circa 2004 Nokia.
I think my mum still
Samsung.
has that phone.
It's a World War II era technology.
Yeah, basically. I gotta
Very-
find. I know I have somewhere. Remember the Pebble phone?
Oh, I remember the Pebble.
Yeah, I have mine somewhere.
That was a very Star Trek kind of phone, and so was the Razor. I feel like I used to sometimes pretend it was like I would flip it open like that. Well, we're waiting for the Dadmiral. He's somewhere out there. He got called to a briefing, so he'll be along at some point. I was telling everyone, Captain Killy, and also our pal Orgay Trekkie might be along, and so might. Who else? No, that's it. I think those are the only two pending. But it's an open door policy here at Starfleet Boys. So because Captain Fuhrer is so excited about this episode, I wanted to give him the chance to do the episode summary. So take it away.
Oh,
Yes. Kirk and company are on their way to a planet, which I don't remember the name, because what was that?
Echoes, yeah.
Echoes. That's right,
Echoes,
'cause
yeah.
there's 2 planets, and Xeon is the other one, right?
I guess they want to go to Echoes, yeah.
Yeah, Echoes. That's where they're going.
Kirk, they're on a mission to find out what happened to Kirk's old history teacher, Gil. And so when they arrive on the planet, they get down there and they find the whole planet is basically based on Nazi Germany to the T. They're wearing swastikas. They're doing the whole Hail Fuhrer thing.
They have the Hugo Boss uniforms.
The beautiful, yes, the beautifully designed Hugo Boss uniforms. When inspiration strikes, right?
which now that they were owned by Paramount, which had bought them a few episodes before, they had access to all Paramount's costume department that they didn't have. And there was, plenty of Nazi World War II era movies that Paramount did. So costuming was a no-brainer for them.
Well, I was thinking how little this episode cost, because they shot on standing sets and Nazi uniforms at the time. They were probably making like 10 Nazi movies every minute. So it's like they're all over the place. Yeah,
they shot on the back lot. I mean, the building that's the Chancellery is actually it was called the Director's Building. I mean, so it was an office building, part of the Paramount lot. But anyway, not to interrupt.
They did a lot without breaking the budget.
Yes.
So yeah, they get down there. Kirk and crew see the Nazi thing. They help some. What is it? They help the guy. Do the chops and the nerve pinch. They do that a few times in this episode. The one chop knockout. I wonder if like world military leaders like watch that episode and they're just like, is that possible? Figure that out. Yeah, they help let's see, I'm terrible with names.
Isaac or
I think it was
the name
Isaac.
of the guy.
Yeah,
they're all like loosely based on biblical names. Isaac and David and
So before that, they see like a news broadcast, right? That uses footage from like so it looks like an old movie or something. It looks like an old like Nazi propaganda film or something. That kind of clues them in on what's going on. They see that Gil is supposedly the leader of this whole fiasco, as the Führer.
He's like intentionally hidden like like this.
Yeah.
Poor guy. All right. Before they went down, right, McCoy had put in some transponders.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't think the comms were going to work, the communicators were going to work or something, which was opportune, I feel, for a little bit of plot later on in the
Yeah. They probably got to that point. They were like, oh, man, we need to figure something out. Hey, how about this?
No, that's totally exactly what they did, because the original plan was they were going to have one of them pretend to be sick in the jail cell and trick the guards, but they just used that bit in Bread and Circuses, and they use it again in the Kelvin one. So it's like, we can't keep doing this. So let's invent the transponder and make that work. So,
and again, the episode includes that little. I mean, it's not body horror because they don't really show anything, but them cutting themselves.
Yeah,
like, it's very strange, very like packed episode. A lot of interesting things.
It is interesting that they're essentially chipping themselves, which is like it's it's an interesting sci-fi thing that I didn't think like was around like that far back. It's pretty cool.
What else? So they save the guy.
Get to the underground.
Right, they get to. I'm trying to remember. Because don't they? The underground is after the jail or before the jail?
I guess they have to go get their communicators.
Yeah, they have to go get their communicators.
Right.
MacGyver piece that goes on where they kind of.
Ruben just watched this episode twice too, by the way, everybody.
Get it out and, then they pick up the other guys. Like,
sure, I can't remember.
Hey, Earl Grey Trekkie, welcome.
Hi.
I just saw Chris's comment that one of his favourite parts in the episode is Bones putting his boots on. I quite liked when Kirk said, "Bring him down naked if you have to."
Yes.
You get the double shirtless Kirk and Spock in a jail. Like this is like.
It's like a hot scene. It's true.
Yeah, because they take the Nazi uniforms, they get disguised, but then they're gonna go in to get the communicators, and that's when the one guy for some reason tells Spock to take off his helmet, and then that's when they get put in the jail where they actually get to talk to the guy that they were helping.
They do much better later on when they're photographers.
Yes.
In the jail, they cut out the transponders. They use them to make a laser. I love that fucking sound effect. Like that thing just takes me back to like 1981 or whenever I first saw this episode. That little that weird like ceremony thing that's going on. I was actually hoping someone would have some sort of insight on how they made that sound effect because I'm just fascinated by it. It was probably stock.
I don't know. Yeah. Trying to think if that sound appears again, but anyway, I don't know how they.
I feel like they do use it again.
Yeah. Mic check. Ian, can you hear? I don't think Ian can hear us.
Yep.
Oh, he is.
No, I
Okay.
can hear you. No, I can hear you loud and clear.
Just making sure.
Are you listening?
Just making sure. Just making sure. All right, carry on, Ruben.
So now they break out of jail. They go into the underground where they meet the rest of the resistance, the Xeon resistance, or Xeon, right?
It's actually spelled Xeon.
It's spelled Xeon, right?
Xeon, but you guys say Xeon.
How did I forget how
They
they
say
say it in the
they say Xeon in the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
mean,
because I feel like they're trying to mirror like Zion.
Exactly. Yeah.
And and then I'm trying not to say Zion, so I stress Zayon so I don't mess it up. So they get to the underground, they meet the other Zayons, they go into this little faux. Spock goes off to fix the communicators. Then right in the earlier video, they saw that woman getting the award. What was her name?
Darius.
Darius. She shows up supposedly to arrest everybody. Kirk
I kept
and all
wanting
these
to call
people.
her Dr. Schneider because of Indiana Jones and
yeah.
for some weird reason, but yeah.
That's how Austrians say goodbye. Yeah.
And this is how Germans say
Yeah,
goodbye.
that's right. Yeah. That would have really worked. Yeah, for this episode, but
It's true. Anyways, carry on. Carry on. You're doing
So
a great job.
they do this staged shooting of one of the characters just to test Kirk and Spock's loyalty, which I don't know. I found that a little strange in the episode because at this point it's like he helped you guys break out of jail. Like I don't know. But anyway, then they learn about the Fuhrer Gil supposedly going to give this speech about the final. Isak calls it the final solution, right?
Yeah.
And there's
they also learn
there's
about-
Melkon, who's like
Yeah.
the real, yeah.
They learn about Melicon,
Melkon.
the great villain name.
it's like you can't-
Melicon's really the guy in charge, and basically the Fuhrer doesn't really do anything. He's just a figurehead. So they have to break into.
Well, he's like constantly drugged too.
Right,
so
right.
yeah.
So they break into the place where the broadcast building where they're gonna do the speech, and they pretend to be a film crew, which I thought was great. Movie within a movie. I was like, this is so meta. And they're going around learning about trying to figure out how to get into the room. When they realize they need McCoy because they kind of visually can tell that Gil is drugged up. They beam down McCoy in that funny scene where just beam him down naked and he beams down half putting on a boot on. I don't see what the big problem was. He was just putting on a boot on, like.
Well, who is
he
it that
couldn't
tells
get it
him?
on.
Yeah, and then who
Spock
tells
is
him?
like, there's a logical method to proceed. You push your foot into the base of the boot and apply pressure to both sides until it fits or something.
Right.
But
He said, "Well,
yeah,
he said
it's-
point your toes or something. Point your
down.
toes.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
I also love that moment earlier on where Spock says something about how exhilarating it is to ruse,
gamble.
to gamble. Yeah, and I was like, that's an interesting line. So they beam down McCoy, one of the evil non-German Nazis or whatever. The Cojans comes in with one of the ones that the one that met Kirk and Spock in the prison. Turns out he was, I guess, also
part of the underground. Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
which
and they
I-
had this system where they didn't really know who anyone was,
Right.
like so that you always had like every cell I guess had its like a leader that no one knew or something like that. It was a really effective system so that they wouldn't all get caught.
Right, so if one of them got caught, they couldn't rat out too many of them or whatever.
Right.
So finally, they get into the broadcast booth. Spock mind melds with Gil. McCoy pumps him up full of drugs. That old man's having a party. And, yeah, basically, I guess McCoy gets him up enough so that Kirk can ask him questions and he can answer, but he can't say anything. So yeah, you find out that Gil arrived at this planet. It was chaotic. He wanted to provide them some order, and as a history professor, he thinks, "Hey, what's the best thing I could do for these people?"
Could you choose any other?
Yeah,
Could you choose any other model? Like
it's like he had like a spinning wheel and he with a dart, and he was like, "All right, let's see, let's do an experiment."
He actually had a Dungeons and Dragons background and changed them from evil chaotic to evil lawful or whatever.
I guess, yeah.
Right,
You know?
It just went up in flames.
Yeah.
But at this point, he had the order to attack the other planet had already been given out, so the ships were on their way. I guess I kind of skipped over that whole fact, but anyway. And yeah, long story short, they get the Fuhrer up enough to give a speech saying this is all screwed up, stop it all, bring back the troops, we can't do this anymore. Malakon goes crazy, grabs a machine gun, mows him down, somebody blows Malakon away, and then the two sides are like, hey, let's not fight anymore. I mean, they got to wrap it up.
It's just how World War II ended. I mean, it's the exact same.
Exactly.
So,
and I was like, they got to wrap it up. They only got so much time. So yeah, they wrap it up, and basically, I mean, not in so many words, but both sides tell Kirk and Spock to get the fuck out and never come back. And that's my one F word for the day.
Thanks.
Except for Fuhrer.
And
Kirk and Spock head off in the hopes that one day both planets will unite and come back into the Federation.
Or exactly. Interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't use an F word, but I'd use a T word for this video, but I'm not going to.
Which T word? Now I'm confused.
The ex-president of the United States.
Oh, that word.
Oh.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
It's definitely a propaganda video for him.
Yeah, 100%. All right, great summary. So, this is an interesting episode. There are some questions that you're left with, like, I guess, like, in one scene, Spock is like, well, it was the most efficient, like, like nation or government or whatever, at one point, and I think that's arguable. Like, I don't know if that's true. It's very efficient at being a killing machine, but I don't know about everything else. I think everything else was kind of like a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of propaganda. So that line kind of bothered me and stuff. But overall, I thought it was an interesting concept. I thought it was really, it was cool how they were able to blend in some of the serious things, like especially with the I was gonna say Zion, the Zeons, and their plight, and like I vibed with all that, and I felt all that, and it felt like the weight of it like felt pretty real and stuff, and the stakes were there. What did you guys think?
I think with Spock, you have to remember that he's not cold, but he's a logical being. But it would have been nice if he had been a bit more logical and said what he was referring to regarding their efficiency.
Well, I guess, the line was he took a tiny nation beaten bankrupt or something, and
Right.
then, within X many years became one step close to world domination. I mean, that was kind of a popular idea in fiction at the time in the 60s. I mean, it's always so interesting how when we revisit our history, it's like these 20-year gaps. I mean, so in the 60s, there was a lot of World War II stuff. I mean, Catch-22 came out, and Slaughterhouse-5. I mean, then you have Hogan's Heroes. I mean, it's like they were into the World War II then the same way in the 70s they'd be into, like Happy Days in the 50s, or in the 80s they were into Wonder Years in the 60s, or in the 90s. It's always 20 years. They were into that 70s show. But I think there was sort of one take on history that the Nazis were really close to taking over the entire world, when I think a more, with time and a more nuanced examination, as you say, I think a lot of that was smoke and mirrors. But I mean, it even comes up in a little bit in City on the Edge of Forever, where they just needed to get that V2 rocket program, which is not really that successful a rocket program for them. But if they got that up and running, then they would have taken over everything. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a popular concept at the time.
That's all right. They took those scientists, and that's where you got the space program in America.
That's
so
right.
it was just fine.
Yeah.
It's true. What about you, Captain Killy? What did you think of this episode?
It's very awkward because you can't say I liked it because of the Nazis. That's not quite right. But then, on that point, people say they like Sound of Music, and what has Sound of Music got? It's got Nazis. So I liked it. I thought Spock and EGT, I think you said this, he just seemed a little bit dim in this episode. There was a lot of things he didn't quite catch on to straight away. You know, we got the transponder that just coincidentally we decided to use today, that we could then MacGyver our way out of the jail and all that kind of stuff. He was just one step behind Kirk. He was like, oh yeah, that could work. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, that could work.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that, but yeah, you're
yeah.
right.
So he just seemed a bit behind it, and Bones as well was he was just glass half empty. I think apart from when he was beaming down trying to put his boot on. I think when they said, "Oh, John Gill, we've not spoken to him in about 6 months," he was probably dead. All right, fine. Someone's in a bad mood today.
It's so true.
I give a little nuances, but Jace to put, you barely saw anyone else in that episode. It's you didn't see Scott, you didn't see Uhura. It was very focused on the ground. But then, to your point, Sub Commander, I think with the set they had, and did you say that they'd recently merged with Paramount or something like that? Or
Yeah, a little while, a few months earlier.
They clearly had some new sets to play with. They clearly had some outfits to play with, and they were just all going for that. And obviously, when he beamed down with his sort of jeans with his blue button shirt sort of tucked in, you could see him loving it, absolutely loving it. But no, I enjoyed it. I actually quite like this episode. Yeah,
it's a solid episode. Ian,
I think with all the negativity on Spock, I think he has one of the best lines in the in the actual episode, where he tells Kirk he'd make a good Nazi, and that is and Kirk's reaction to it was quite funny. So I think that was actually one of the best lines. Yeah, I think it's more of a Kirk episode more than anything else.
He does really put it all on the line, basically, like, you know, to help these guys.
But I think this is a vehicle for Shatner and Kirk and everything else. I think the rest are just ancillaries. They just used Spock as the buddy type thing on this one. It's very much that McCoy was glass half empty, as Tilly said. It's an interesting episode more than a good episode. I think it's the way they take, you know, what if you did take that model of Nazism in its purest form and put it there? Can you make a utopian world out of it? But I think out of everything, even McCoy has probably one of the most best lines as well, where he turns around and says, "Well, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely."
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's probably where we get it from. You know, Gil thought, okay, they're disjointed, they're fragmented. Let's bring them together. You know, maybe the Nazis wasn't the best thing to do. Maybe. I'm wondering whether they out of the two choices, whether they chose Nazis because it was the easy one to use over communism, because, you know, we're in the height of the Cold War. You know, maybe that was a step too far for them to use, because if you're going to do that, maybe communism where everybody's equal is probably a better thing. But I think in that era where it's the height of the Cold War, you've got the nuclear threats, you've got all that stuff going on in the late 60s as well. You know, maybe that they thought the Nazis was the more palatable thing to use as opposed to the communists. I don't know.
I mean, it definitely suffers a little bit from from the fact that, like, real life mixing with the story, where they needed a cheap solution, and so they were like, oh, we've got all these World War II, you know, costumes, let's just do it like that. But I think, you know, in a real, like, Star Trek scenario, like in an ideal world, I think Gil would have created some kind of fascist, like, you know, a fascist model, or like a model like that, but it would have been it could have been translated totally differently. Like they may not have just like recreated Nazi Germany like exactly to the T, every little like detail, including accents, I guess. Like it was like
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think some of those guys, particularly the
Those
guy, the
outfits were
colonel.
boss, bro.
I think the colonel he played a Nazi a bunch of times. That actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, but yeah.
But at the heart of it, it is cool because the story of like a peaceful. I think the Zeons were peaceful and like they were more advanced, I think, than the Ecosians originally, and now there was this like kind of build up and everything like that. So it was interesting. I thought that was really cool. And I think TNG kind of does it in a weird way does this again in a weird way with the drug addicted planet episode. I feel like that's
that's the one who plays David in
Merrick Patrick.
That's an early one.
May he rest in peace. Oh, and speaking of resting in peace, Sub Commander Chal, we want to take a minute to give you the opportunity to well, not toast because we did that last night.
Sure, I did too much of that last night. So yesterday, not yesterday, but on the 17th, Eddie Paskey, who played Mr. Leslie on the original series, he appeared in 57 episodes, and you'll recognize his face if you've watched the original series. He was one of the background players. He passed away at the age of, I'm not sure exactly what, I think it was 87 or so.
87,
yeah. But always had affection for some of these background players that you see in episode after episode after episode, and they almost never say anything, but they just kind of gave the show a little bit of continuity. So always sad when someone connected with the original series passes on. So
those old scientists are starting to get older and older, and we're gonna us younger folk are gonna see them go and pass on to the great bird of the to the great bird of the galaxy. I learned from you from your tweets that Eddie Paskey actually suffered from like debilitating like migraines and also back pain.
Actually,
he still showed up like every day, like ready to work and stuff. So it's cool that he had such a great work ethic.
He's from a neighboring state to mine, Delaware. I'm in Maryland, but actually one of his legs was a little shorter than the other, so he sort of had in back problems from his whole life. But there was, if you remember the episode where Spock fails to put on the red goggles and then looks at the Medusan and goes kind of crazy and starts flinging people around the bridge. Apparently, in that setup, Nimoy flung Eddie Paskey back against the rail that surrounds the inside part of the bridge, and he messed up his back as he ran into that, and then he pretty much wasn't able to do any more episodes. I mean, he recovered a bit from that, but that and migraines. So, but he was always there, always showing up. He was even in the second pilot, so more episodes than Chekhov. He might have been in more episodes than Sulu, actually.
Oh wow. Well, because Sulu's been absent a lot. He and there was a chance he was going to be in the motion picture, which would have been really nice, right? Like that.
He said he thought about auditioning for it, the actor Eddie Paskey, but he was really into cars. He started a garage with his wife and was like just a mechanic, or not just a mechanic, but that's what he liked to do. But when the motion picture got going, he thought, well, maybe I should audition for this, but he decided against it in the end. I think it would have been so cool to see him and see it. One of them, there's I could say their names, but nobody knows their names. You'd recognize their faces. But one of the things, I was saying this morning to someone, and I won't belabor Mr. Leslie too long.
Nice. No,
was
I like
that,
this kind of thing.
but as much as I like the movies with the original series, some of the background players in it, I found a little underwhelming or kind of goofy, like in Star Trek 6 or 2 or 5. Like, I mean, I know they were supposed to be mostly cadets, but then it just seemed like they didn't really, I don't know, gel with the main characters. It just would. It was great that what's his name, Kyle, came again in Star Trek 2, but it would have been kind of fun as a little Easter egg for the fans for one of those actors to just be, walking by in the background or have a line or something.
Yeah, totally.
I think they used Rand more than anybody for that one, didn't they? Because she was back virtually in every film.
That's true. But she wasn't a background player. She was more. She was a
No, she was sacked. Yes.
Yeah, but she was a star.
Yeah.
I mean, she was one of the
Yeah.
guest stars, pretty much.
Do you know if that actor was the one who was sucked to death by the salt vampire? I think I remember.
No, he you're close. He got his blood removed by the
okay.
the whatever that thing was in
The
Obsession.
vampire cloud.
The vampire
Vampire
cloud.
cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he came
That's
back
right.
after that.
Yeah, he didn't.
So maybe
he
he'll
didn't-
come back again. Maybe this isn't the end for Eddie Paskey.
Yeah.
Chris Collins.
He predominantly wore a red shirt, didn't he? But I
Yeah.
think he did wear gold as well. I think he did wear gold.
Or
Yes.
blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
He wore all three colors at one point.
Oh, okay.
Not at the same time.
No, not at the
Imagine.
same time.
That's Wesley.
Chris Collins is asking us, he says, I feel like this episode did not work for me like other episodes, mainly because I had trouble determining the groups when people are disguising themselves in interesting.
I love this comment. I mean, when I was a kid, I did not like this episode very much as a kid, although I think there's some really interesting things about it now. But one thing that always occurred to me, well, how can you tell? I mean, the Zeons and the Ecosians, they look exactly the same. So does every single Ecosian wear a Nazi uniform? Is that the only? It's like,
Yeah,
are the
I was
kids in
gonna
little
say-
Nazi uniforms? That's the
They
only
use
way you
that
can
kind
tell
of.
them
They
apart.
use that as a cheap kind of out. a
Yeah,
couple times.
yeah.
It's just like the transponder thing. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of random. But at least that's
How do you
set up in
guys?
a way.
How do you guys like this episode? How do you like this episode over a piece of the action or Bread and Circuses, where they go to planets that copy other periods of time?
Those two are better episodes for me.
The
I
Bread
agree.
and Circuses and Piece of the Action. I can't
Yeah.
remember Bread and Circuses. What happens in that one?
That's the Roman Empire in the
Oh,
20th
yeah,
century.
The Roman Empire, where it's all to do with the sun.
Oh, that
I think
makes sense.
that's-
Bread and Circuses.
I think that's coming up soon.
With the gladiator type of thing. That's cool.
Yeah,
All right.
actually, it's Bread and Circus is where Uhura probably has the best line in
That's
the
right.
whole episode.
Is that one to come? I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah,
one.
that's
It's
still
to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still to come. But yeah, Uhura has the best line in that one. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But those two I feel are better episodes than this one.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the whole space Nazi thing was kind of a little bit silly, and they've done the visiting Earth-like planets before. But that said, I think the one thing very interesting about it is that the acting from the guest players, I think, is really good. I mean, I think a lot of those underground players, you really kind of buy their suffering. They're trying to fight back against this regime, and you have this fairly important female character who doesn't get caught up in a romantic subplot with either Spock or McCoy or anyone else. She's just, she's got her own storyline there. I thought those aspects were pretty interesting.
Yeah, it does make a change to actually have a female guest that isn't sort of falling in the arms of Kirk or Google-eyed at Spock or anything like that.
Yeah,
It did make a refreshing change on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Captain RGD was asking, when did they start saying Starfleet Command and the Federation? It was a while ago, like in this season, though. I feel like it's all starting to come together where they formed their and that was Gene Coons, right? Yeah, who came up with that, and that kind of is what he laid the foundation for what it would come out. I think it gets like the most fleshed out in TNG, but the TOS films kind of always leave it a little bit vague, and it's just like headquarters or whatever. But yeah, so
I think pretty sure it's first referenced in A Taste of Armageddon, which is in the first season, but near the end of the first season. So then this second season, it's referenced a lot. So
I think they make the Prime Directive is starting to come a bit more now. Obviously, the non-interference thing. I mean, they use it in this one again, sort of near the end where John Gill's dying, and he said, "Yeah, maybe you're right. The non-interference was the best thing to do." That's what John Gill says when he's dying. So yeah, they are starting to. I think in this season they've used it quite a few times.
Yeah,
I'm starting to think the Prime Directive was invented just to keep track of how many times they ruin a planet. It wasn't about stopping not ruining the planet. It was about, hey, we need a name for all these times that we screwed over these planets.
Yeah. It's to
Jay
stop
says-
Kirk from doing his own thing. Yeah.
Jay says, reading a book at the moment where Uhura has her own story plot. Would have liked to have seen more of this in the series. Yeah, I agree. It's a shame, but it's good that there's a lot of books out there and stuff like that. But yeah, it would have been cool if it was more like TNG, where I feel like everyone has more. It's not just like, I mean, you can argue that TNG is like Picard, Data, Worf maybe focused, but I think it also does a good job of like being fair to the rest of the cast, a lot better at least than TOS did.
Yeah, I mean,
In
it's the
terms
era of
time.
TV too. In 60s, you don't get shows branching out with secondary characters. By the TNG time, you do get more of that, and then more and more as it goes on. Nowadays, you get whole freaking half seasons with like side characters sometimes, but there's less of that. Like,
Yeah.
there's more ensembles now than
Mhm.
ever. So
Yeah, yeah. That's an intro. We should have a discussion just on that, because I think that's really fascinating. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a zero-sum game where, the more you give to the supporting actors, the less you take away from that, or the more you then take away from that core Kirk, Spock, McCoy, id ego, superego, the triumvirate, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
which is such a fundamental part of what made it successful. I mean, I think for sure the supporting characters could have had more. And if you look at the early first season, they did. I mean, I just wish they had kind of kept that up. But at the same time, what really worked for that show in general was the relationship between those three main characters, I think. And you wouldn't want to sacrifice that too much. I mean, and you're right, in TNG, Worf, Data, and Picard definitely had the most, but they didn't have the same. They weren't like three parts of something. They just were three very interesting separate characters that had three very different kind of stories going on. But
right.
yeah, that's a very cool discussion.
The interesting thing about
I like
TNG is that it was probably, I would say, I mean, I wasn't there and behind the scenes, but it didn't become War for Data and Picard because that was the idea. It was Picard, and then let's see what other characters get popular, and then go that way. And it became Data and Worf, the two arguably most interesting characters after Picard, right? Because they tried things with every character, and then it was those kind of characters that just they explored more and more and more. Whereas in the TOS era, you don't get any of that whatsoever. And if you notice too, even into the TNG era a little bit, but in TOS for sure, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy don't change. They don't grow. They're pretty much the same characters every episode. You know what I mean? And
You're talking about
even
in the series.
yeah, there's no real character development, as they say. That's a buzzword nowadays. Everybody loves. Where now,
I think that's
you really
more...
don't get shows where characters don't grow. They have to grow,
right?
Because the audience is more sophisticated and is waiting for that.
I think that's. I see it a little. Maybe I'm just. It's because we all have the benefit of like the whole story, like the films and everything like that. So you attribute like micro growth and then add it to the rest of the picture. But I will say that I feel like DeForest Kelley and Shatner just like nailed their characters from the beginning, whereas like Leonard Nimoy had to find Spock a little bit, and so that's why I think Spock has the appearance of growth in a weird way, because he's he's finding the character, and so there's like an awkwardness in the beginning.
I think there's more character growth in the films than there is in.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Because in film you had to have that. In TV, you didn't have the time to write a script that, especially in the '60s, they did like 26 episodes a season. You know what I mean? They were cranking them out. So it was like writing that kind of extra layer, like writing the B story that included more of the secondary. Because a lot of the episodes, you'll notice, I always mention how you'll see like they're kind of like hollow, like there's something missing, and it's usually that B story with some other secondary character, which we get nowadays. But even going into TNG, and probably less, I mean, I don't know, even the TNG era into the early 2000s, you don't really get that. Like Picard, Data, Worf did change, but you still don't get that real extreme character growth. You know what I mean? Until now, modern TV really does that really well because it's made more like a movie.
It's all arcs. It's all multi.
Yeah, it's all about arcs. It's all about this guy has to change, and so it's interesting to see that development and kind of the evolution really through Star Trek, because you probably see that a lot of Discovery.
Yeah, Strange New Worlds will be interesting because obviously they say there's going to have that more of the old style feel, but there are still going to be those mini arcs that thread through those episodes, so they're
Yeah,
not fully coming away from it completely, but it's still going to be Planet of the Week, but there's still going to be those threads that go through, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works.
I think
here's my positive comment about Strange New Worlds this week. The show I'm never gonna watch, but I'm hoping is great. I'm just hoping for all. Watch the last 4 seasons of Buffy. You can do both. You can have character development and you can have serialized stories that don't have to connect with each other in any major way. Watch the first the Bad Wolf seasons of Doctor Who, where it's a one story, but you can watch any episode and it doesn't matter. You don't get lost. It's not like you're missing something. They can do it. They can do it.
Yeah. It's been done before.
It's been done before.
Please,
They will
I'll
do
subscribe again. Paramount Plus. I swear.
it. Wow.
No, cut that out. Cut that out.
So weird. So weird. But I love you. Captain Killy, you were going to say something.
I can't remember. I think
Oh.
no, actually, yeah. No, we were talking about character growth and how some of them didn't necessarily need to grow their characters, where some of them did, and then you compared it to TNG. What do you think about the other series then, Enterprise and DS9 and Voyager? Because I think Voyager has some huge character growth.
And
Maybe
DS9.
not so much in DS9. I don't know. I mean, I've only watched DS9 once. I'm in the process of watching it again at the moment. I don't know what your view is of that.
Well, it's interesting, again, the evolution, because as you get later into the 90s, into DS9, Buffy, Voyager, you start seeing that kind of evolution of like, hey, we can kind of do both. You can change characters and evolve them. I think DS9 does plenty of that, especially with Cisco. I mean, Cisco goes through a lot. Worf, definitely. Nog is a perfect example of that kind of arc that you did not see on TV, especially with a character like Nog. Like, I wouldn't even say he's a secondary character. He was a tertiary character. He was just I'm sure at the beginning he was just like, yeah, whatever, some cousin of Quark's. And then it just kind of like, hey, let's throw Nog in this episode. And hey, Nog would be a good character for this. And then it just kind of character response and audience response, and like it grew and grew. And what they did with Nog is definitely groundbreaking for the time. Voyager does some interesting things. I definitely was 7 of 9 from her start to her finish. Chakotay is not a good example of that. Sorry, Voyager. For Chakotay.
I think with Nog though, I think a lot of that was down to Aaron. I think you can put an awful lot down to Aaron, because obviously he was a good actor, but obviously he was a great guy as well. And I think people when he was on the screen, you know, he wasn't the tallest guy in the world, but you still you were drawn to him when he was on screen, and when he was on that, he was far. I would say Nog is a far better character than Jake.
I think as the writers of the programs of programs see their words come to life by performers, like, and if they're it works in like a symbiotic fashion, because then they become more inspired. If the performance is really good, they become more inspired to write that character. And so I think that's a cool relationship that occurs between performers and writers. You know, it's
Absolutely.
like it's pretty neat. Very cool, very cool. But coming back to this episode,
Coming back to the space Nazis.
What else do you guys think? What do you guys think could have? I mean, I actually agree that this is like a pretty like interesting. Interesting story, but it's also just enjoyable to watch, because like I think one of the reasons I like to start these discussions and not talk beforehand, Ruben mentioned in the pre-chat about the pacing and stuff like that, and I do think it just like it goes really, it's very well paced, and it does feel like there's not like a lull really or anything like that. And
I mean, that may be because there is no B story, where normally in these kind of stories they get captured on the planet and then there's some beam on the ship, and so you cut back to Scotty and like, I can't beam you up, or we can't, but none of that even happens. It's just 100% on them.
No time for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, Memory Alpha was saying Scotty only had one line, which was, "Aye, sir, whatever your condition." Yeah, that's it. It says also, by the way, on Memory Alpha, I thought this was interesting, that this episode marks the only time in any Star Trek series or film that actor Leonard DeMory is seen on camera not wearing a shirt. So just FYI.
Ooh.
And it was cool that he kept his
He didn't
chest
shave
hair.
his chest. Yes,
Yeah, it
good
was
for
cool that
him.
he kept his
Good for him.
chest hair, which is
What
very
about
interesting.
is he not shirtless in Catspaw?
No.
No. No, he isn't.
Yeah, the reason for it is because he refused to shave his chest, but Shatner didn't have a problem with it. He did it. Shatner also
He sort of had a problem with it, but
he did. Okay.
but he did it.
He
Yeah,
did
I
it.
mean that's what you did back then.
It's interesting, like the whole thing about chest hair, because now it's in vogue. In the 70s, it was certainly in vogue. Like there's a lot of chest
Tom
hair.
Selleck.
Oh yeah,
The 20-year cycle that
there you go.
some commander was talking about before. No, it's true. It's a real phenomenon that's been studied. The fashion recycles itself. A lot of ideas recycle themselves. They evolved. I don't want to say recycle because that sounds kind of cheapens it or brings it down.
Well, a new generation comes up and it's new to them,
right.
so it's
new to them, and it's exciting. It's different from what's been happening. So
exactly,
because everything's evolved away from that, but now they're wanting, hey, wait, let's go back there, and it just kind of like.
I think the next trend should be chest hair beards, like beards that are made entirely of your chest hair. No. Okay.
I'll
Lakers,
stick to this. I don't need to grow my chest hair into a beard. I don't need to do that. I'll stick with it.
Also, chest hair just doesn't work that way. So,
No.
fortunately, it doesn't
if you don't trim it, it can sprout out, sort of thing. You can do that if you don't. You can have it appearing from the top of your shirt if you want it to. But
how did we get to chest hair? Oh yes, Spock.
Get Thomas.
I suppose you could join them up. You could actually join the two up.
Oh God, that's a sci-fi that's a sci-fi concept.
The Sasquatch look, and you just grow your chest hair into a full beard, so you don't know where the man ends and the beast begins.
I think Robbie's right though. I think Jonathan Frakes already has that or could have
Yeah,
that going. Yeah.
I loved Thomas Riker's detachable beard, basically, and the DS9 episode, he takes them off, and that's the cold open, and you hear a sound effect.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I remember being in conventions in the 80s and seeing that shot of Spock and Kirk both bare-chested. It was on the cover, the inspiration for a lot of what they called KS slash fiction at the time. Now it's a whole subgenre out there at the moment, but it's an iconic scene in its way.
I like that that when Kirk finally that whole scene where he finds Gil and he's confronting him, he's talking to him in that scene. Like I really felt the in the performance, I really felt that he cared about John Gill, like he was fond of him as a teacher and stuff like that. And again, Nazi stuff aside, like it is interesting to have your a former hero fall, and disappoint you. And I thought that was really well conveyed here.
It reminded me of the relationship between Picard and Galen, was it?
Oh, it's really good. Yeah,
like a little professor.
Except it's turned around where Galen's disappointed at Picard. So that's it's cool. You were gonna be my successor,
and all you did was become one of the greatest starship captains of all time. You loser!
How dare you give up archaeology?
He should have said now I have full access to sites. It's true. He never really lost that archaeological mindset. I think he still had a reverence for past cultures, and we get a lot. I feel like we get enough of that in TNG. But yeah, that is funny.
Well, the history connection is interesting. If you look at Dan Leckie's comment there.
Yeah.
I find the John Gill stuff in this episode really interesting, and he's just been featured in Rogue Elements, the new Picard novel released earlier this week. Oh, interesting.
That makes sense.
They reference John Gill.
Loves the history stuff. Okay. He's a history guy. It's interesting.
Hopefully they have a better picture of him in there. That photo they show at the top of the episode is so awful. I mean, it's like I don't know. I mean, it would have been a bad photo from the 60s, but let alone am I supposed to believe this is on a high-tech starship and they've got is this Polaroid of John Gill from back in the academy or something. But yeah. I think
There's
that
a
actor
Sears
actually had his
catalog
own
of-
series in the 50s or something. I think he was actually a fairly well-known guy 10 years before that, but he was not really utilized much in the episode.
I find this interesting. Both Shatner and Nimoy have Jewish backgrounds, and Nimoy actually did not want to be photographed. There, some photographers were invited onto the set, and he didn't want to be photographed in a Nazi uniform, which is very interesting because I guess he was set to go to and make an appearance at a children's Hanukkah service later that same month. So I guess he didn't want to have his. And it's smart.
I don't think that would go down very well, would it? Going
No.
to a Jewish bit in a
It's
Nazi
true.
uniform. No, it's not. No.
By the way, I can't find it anymore, but for the longest time online, you could find the reading that he does, the story of the Golem, and Nimoy reads it, and it's brilliant. And I listen to it every year around. We celebrate Christmas, but I have a lot of Jewish friends, so it's like Christmas, Hanukkah. Like actually, it's just the Yuletide, the holidays,
Right.
Like, so like it is like, and that's like one of my traditions is to like have some mulled wine and listen to Leonard Nimoy tell the story.
Oh, that's awesome.
Of the Golem. It's very, very cool.
You
Someone
said about
showed
his
me-
voice. Go on, Tilly.
Someone showed me recently the Bruno Mars "Today I Don't Feel Like Doing Anything."
Oh, yeah.
The lazy song.
Gorgeous.
The lazy
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I think
Yeah.
Robbie might have shown that to me. I'm not sure who shared that with me, but that was delightful.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times. But
Yeah.
you say about Leonard Nimoy voice. What I would love to hear, I've not had a chance because I've got the Spock versus Q series with John Delancey. There's two of them. There's Spock and I was quite lucky because
they used to do
but
that.
they did alien voices. They did alien voices, and I would love to hear because they do the Time Machine. They do all the classic science fiction stuff,
Yeah.
and I would love
Or
to
the
hear those two
Worlds.
do it because all I've heard is Spock versus Q. Because I was also lucky on the cruise. Yeah, last year they redid it with Spock from Discovery, Ethan Peck.
Zachary
Okay.
Quinto did it with John
No,
Delancey.
Ethan Peck. Ethan Peck.
Oh, okay.
So
Ethan Peck.
Spock,
That's awesome.
Ethan Peck did the Spock bit, and John Delancey is Q and everything else.
That
and
gave
it
me
was brilliant.
goosebumps. That's cool.
It's a reenactment of the second Spock versus Q, which was really quite good. But I would love to hear the alien voices ones. It was a very short run with the two of them, but I would, because he's Leonard Nimoy is such a distinctive voice. When he did animation, when he voiced in Transformers and when he was in Atlantis,
he's
the Disney
Unitron,
film,
right?
and all that type of thing.
Sentinel
Yeah.
Prime.
Yeah,
Who is
Sentinel
he?
Prime.
Sentinel Prime.
Transformers? Who? Sentinel Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Leonard Nimoy in the Transformers films. Yeah, so and
Yeah,
also in
Unicron was,
Atlantis.
Orson Welles, I think, right?
Oh, Unicron was Orson Welles. That's right. You're right. It's like-
Yeah.
And a bottle of wine.
I love Orson Welles.
Oh, Cybertron.
By the way, Father's in the audience. He couldn't be here today because Amos had to go to dog school, and apparently, it sounds like Amos.
Can we just check? Amos is a dog, right?
Yes. and
He's learning to be a dog.
Galvatron.
He graduated to the advanced classes today, and then Father says that Alien Voices was on Sci-Fi Channel, and Nimoy was Galvatron in the '86 movie. All right, very cool.
Is Amos named after the Expanse character?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is correct. Earl Grey Trekkie. What Earl Grey Trekkie? Any other thoughts on this episode?
I really like the concept, but I think I got a bit bored when I was watching it. And I don't like to say that, but
It's okay. You can say that. It's fine.
I've not been bored with the TOS episodes in a while since Catspaw. I wasn't anywhere near as bored as Catspaw, but
I kind of like Catspaw, but anyway, go on.
I like it more after Ruben's antics on that episode of Starfleet Boy.
Nothing quite beats Robbie. I don't like cats. Nothing beats that. That's always
That's
nothing
right.
will ever beat that one for me. That's brilliant.
That was the first one I joined on here, and it
I'm
was
sorry.
really quiet. It was descending into
Don't be
absolute
sorry.
chaos.
It's fantastic. It's so you did it so deadpan and everything. Matter of factly, it was just a brilliant line. Don't ever say sorry for that, Ron Wallaby. It was brilliant.
That's pretty funny.
I actually like this episode more as a kid than I do as an adult. I think because growing up for me, we had lots of, you had all the war movies, you had the John Wayne, all those type of things. So to me, it was just more of a reenactment of a war movie. So, but as the older I've got, it's an okay episode. As I said, that it's there, but it's not as much fun as it was when I was a kid.
Anyone else have any final thoughts? And I guess we can give it our ratings now. Anyone else? Anyone else going? Bueller?
I'll just say one thing I didn't like about it was I found the music to be pretty monotonous. I mean, it was a pretty one note on that Nazi theme that you just heard over and over and over again. But speaking of music, there is, and you've probably all read this, because all the information that I thought was cool in my head from obscure books is now there at a click, on the internet. But one of the guards who tries to get into the room when Kirk is in there with John Gill and it's banging on the door. This guy makes an appearance also in Obsession as Basil Poledouris, who is the composer of the score for Conan the Barbarian, which is an amazing score. That's
and
incredible.
The Hunt for Red October, which is also an amazing score.
Yeah,
he's done a lot of
Yeah.
So
I wish they had gotten him to write the music for this episode, but instead he got to bang on the door.
An interesting controversy surrounding this episode, and I'm going to read it. Just basically, this episode was held from being aired in Germany because of the fact that it was still too soon, as we say. It was still too soon, as we say. So it didn't actually air. And then I think it didn't actually air till
the 90s or something, right?
On public TV until like 1996. It says on Memory Office, so that's crazy, but it also makes sense.
Imagine being a German Trek fan that's watched the series over and over and never seen this one episode.
Yeah, actually, when I was in grad school, I roomed. One of the people I roomed with, he was from Germany, and he had never seen this episode. And I dusted off the VHS and we put it in, and he thought it was a terrible episode anyway. Nazis aside, but that is. I can't believe they waited that long, though. I mean, like 40 years before it was permitted to be aired.
Some nerves are quite raw, and I'm sure the Second World War for Germany was. If you're a German, it was always. I mean, because the rest of the world just made fun of it. I mean, they in Britain, we had a long running sitcom called Are You Be? Oh Jesus, what was it called?
Faulty Towers. Or you think of that?
No.
No, not that.
No, it was set in the Second World War.
Don't mention the war.
Yeah, that's right. But no, we had one in the. It was set in the Second World War, and it ran for about 14 years. So it went on longer. It was there, so it was all to do. It's set in occupied France.
Okay, like in a restaurant or something.
Yeah, it was the restaurant, Rene and all that.
Hello.
No.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. Wrote there,
Hello.
Dad's Army.
That's it.
Is it Dad's Army
was
or
another one?
Oh, another
Dad's
one.
Army
Hello.
was set in the UK.
That's like we had Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, we had Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, no, it was Danny. It was Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. They didn't have such shows in Germany, I'm sure.
No, they wouldn't have. So I think when you've got all these other countries and Hogan's Heroes, Hello, Dad's Army, all taking the mickey out of Nazis, you can imagine it could be raw. It's going to be the same for America. We're going to take the piss out of Trump for years and years and years. So,
Yeah, it's true.
We got plenty of things to be embarrassed about. Not just Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot. Unfortunately, there's a wave of things now that Americans are going to be notorious for a while. But
We go
hopefully...
big, bro.
Not just
Yeah,
now.
but
And we don't go home.
thing is,
And we
thing
don't
is-
go
thing is,
home.
though, yeah, the other thing is we've still got we've still got ours as a prime minister, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's Trump too. Anyways, this was really fun. So I'm gonna give this episode probably around a 7. I think for me, it's a good episode. I was entertained when I was watching it. Again, probably not an episode I would like just think, oh, let me pop this one in the I was gonna say VHS, but I no longer but I don't actually do that. But you know what I mean. Like, let me pop this episode on and watch it. So yeah, solid 7 for me. Why don't you go next, Ruben?
I like this episode a lot. I think from a writing point of view, it's very modern. It's very well paced. It's one of the few TOS episodes that I could almost see it being better if they had taken. I mean, they didn't do 2-hour episodes back then, but I could see them taking more time with it and doing more with it, digging deeper into into kind of the debate over, socioeconomic, political styles of government. I like how they did it. It does a lot with just standard stuff that they had. You could tell that they were saving money at this point big time and just using everything they had around them. And we're saying that a lot now with TOS episodes. Overall, I liked it. I don't know what I would give it. I'm not good with the number thing, but 7 sounds good to me.
Cool.
I'll go with a 7.
Sub-Commander, would you like to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I maybe not quite as upbeat on it. Actually, for some of the reasons Ruben said, where just in terms of resolving the theme, it kind of exploring it a little bit more. The last 5 minutes should have been more like 15 minutes, and there maybe could have been one less scene where they were trapped and had to get out. But yeah, I like all of these, so I can't give any of them less than like a 6. So. I'll go for 6 out of 10. 6 Xeon pigs out of 10. So that's Father's thing. But.
Nice. Robbie, go ahead and give us your rating.
I was thinking 6.5, but then Sub-Commander Tal said 6, and I think I'll go for 6. Not because you said it, but
because you don't want to give a higher rating than anyone else. Because you were.
You can say 5.
You can say.
No,
5.
I don't think it's the words of 5.
Oh, okay. Earl Grey Trek, you predicted that he was going to have the lowest score, and then when he heard that someone else had a lower score, he downgraded it. No, that's cool. Yeah. How about you, Captain Killy? What would you rate this one?
I would probably go, and I'm a generous marker, 7 to a 7.5. So maybe I will be the highest marker. I liked it. I think, like you say, Ruben, you wouldn't necessarily think, oh, that's the episode I'm going to watch today and pop it on. But actually, if it was on, I would watch it from start to finish.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
And I liked the whole, you said they were on a budget, said they were on a shoestring, but I don't know, I kind of like that. The whole kind of MacGyver bit going into it. There's a little bit of sass going on. There was just some bits to enjoy throughout it.
Well,
you can say you like Nazis if you like Sound of Music. So you can't say, oh, Nazis, boom. But if you like Sound of Music, fine.
And Star Trek
it strengthens them in a lot of ways, because the more they start worrying about, fancy space blobs and all this other shit, they forget kind of about the story, and then you get these stories that have cool fancy space blobs, but then it's like nothing's going on for the whole story. It's just fancy effects. And so I think sometimes when they're limited, they actually do better with it.
Star Trek doesn't do that. No, I'm just kidding. This isn't the last time we'll see space Nazis, because as Dan pointed out, you see them in Year of Hell and Stormfront. So it seems like something that Star Trek wants to explore. Dadmiral, what's your final thoughts and rating?
I'm actually going to give it a rating of 5.75.
That's very specific.
I was on about a 5.5, I can't quite give it a 6, so I'm giving it a 5.75. It's, as I said,
Can I change my
no, too late. I've got it. It's an okay episode. It's, as I said, I preferred it more as a kid. I think everything Ruben said as I agree with, but there's certain things that they could have done better with it. There's certain things they could have dropped and carried on with that. And I see that more when I watch it now. I mean, yes, I watched it twice. I watched it with the remark because I'm watching it on Blu-ray because I still don't have my broadband yet.
Gotcha.
So I've watched both with the original effects and the remastered. But yeah, I can't give it a 6. So that's why I've gone slightly over, because I thought, do I give it a 5? Okay, it's 5.5, and I thought I've heard some of the other arguments, so I've sort of given it another 0.25 on there.
Given this a lot of thought, haven't you?
I have. I listened to what everybody said. I totally ignored it. No. No.
He's got his calculator there and tapping it out.
Yeah, no, it was the law of averages, and I just went, "Oh, blow it! I'm going to go lower than Robbie." No, but yeah, it's an okay episode, but I can watch it like all TOS. I can sit and watch, but it's, as you say, it's not one of those ones that I'm going to go out and specifically say, "Oh, well, let's watch that one." It's not one of those ones that I'll ever really do. You probably find now that I won't watch it again now for a good many years, unless it just comes on. It's on the TV sometimes, and I'll sit and watch it, but I won't go out of my way to watch this one.
There can't have been that much for the remastered effects to. I mean, I guess there's that bit in the beginning with the nuclear attack or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's the ship when it's coming out to the planet.
That's
it's
about
the
and
also
the laser looked nice.
Yeah, the little bit
okay.
when the cell to do the lock with the.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. Because I think, to be honest, that's what I found more interesting, was the differences between the mastered and the original on that one. But yeah,
it says here, Xeon and Ecos were remastered. The Ecosian missile, Spock's Rubindium laser, and the Enterprise orbit, of course. So those were the bits. So yeah, it wasn't a lot of things that they.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah, very cool. Great discussion, guys. What have you guys got going on that you want to promote? Let's start with you, Captain Killy.
Nothing.
Other than your fabulous cosplays that you do, I would say.
I'm not heard so much. There's not a huge amount going on. Although I will say, I'm just. There's a few things going on in my life at the moment. I'm being hit by motivation and inspiration from everywhere, and there's part of me that wants to write a comic book. And there's part of me that wants to do more cosplay, and there's part of me that wants to just do fanfic and all stuff like that. But the thing is, it's just time to do these things. Work is horrendous at the moment, and all I have are these ideas in my head. So hopefully, at some point, I'll be able to put them down, pen to paper. And
you need a transporter duplicate like I have that you can send to go to do your work, and then you can concentrate on your other work.
You can tell me where you bought yours. You can send me the link and I will buy one because I need one. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on in the head. Maybe at some point, I don't know. Yeah, podcasts, things like that. Lots of stuff. But other than that, I'm on Twitter. I do not know my Twitter handle. Which is
Hold on, let me pull it up for you. Hold on.
Tally HG or something. Tally HG maybe.
It's Tally. Yeah. Tally THAHG.
What? Tilly HG.
Oh, Tilly. No, it's TALI. You have a T. It's TALI.
Talitha HG.
Talia HG.
Talitha HG. Talitha. But you have it as a TA instead of a TI. But you're.
No, that's my name. That's actually my name.
Oh, okay. But so that is what your at symbol.
Yeah. TALITHAHG.
I'm like Tal.
You learn something new every day.
Tal Shiar. Well, I've just been calling you Tilly, and now that was the first time.
No. I've been called Tilly since the day I was born. My real name is Talitha, which is Arabic for star. So I think my grandmother called it, and then she passed away when I was really young. So no one else has ever called me Talitha, unless it's like really formal and I've really fucked up and done something wrong. But yeah, people call me Tilly. One person calls me Will. Person calls me Tally. It's all over the place. But Tilly is usually the name I go by.
Everyone follow Tilly. Your photos, especially I liked your 7 of 9 one that you did. Like there's just a lot of cool work there.
Let me see if I can find the other one whilst other people are talking.
Okay, cool. Robbie, what have you got going? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, while she's gone, there's one thing I've actually seen a couple of her sketches. I'd like to see some more of Tilly's artwork.
Oh, very
she's a good artist. Tilly is a real. Oh, she's back. I was giving her a compliment then. But no, I'd like to see more of Tilly's art. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice.
When I've got the time, I'll do it. That was how cool.
Oh yes, that is really cool. Oh my gosh, the Scarlet Witch.
Yes. So that is going to be my next cosplay. I've got the contacts. I've got the wig. I need the outfit. And it's going to be so cool.
That's so cool. You guys have inspired me. All of you guys do. Ruben does cosplay. Like Earl Grey Trekkie does it. Dadmiral, Captain Killy. Yeah. Okay. Ruben does like.
I put on a wig for your podcast. That's about all I do.
I want Ruben's. I want to see Ruben in another wig. I want to see him something different than blonde. He always does blonde. I don't know why, but
it's because he only has 2 wigs. He has the one he's got.
I have 3. Thank you very much.
Maybe he'll just have to keep spinning the wig.
I actually have like 5, I think.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's Halloween costumes. I go out all out, or I used to go all out on Halloween. I don't cosplay, but Halloween I would go with some elaborate costumes. Like I have a Snow White costume I wore one year. I have a Gandalf costume. I have a Zap Brannigan.
Same costume, actually.
From Futurama.
You actually have the command uniform from the Kelvin films, because one year I was dressed up as Doctor Who, and there's a picture of Ruben grinding me as Captain Kirk. So
I have the Kirk wig. That's the one blonde wig I have, and then I have the other blonde wig that's like Thor, like the long hair.
So very cool. Robbie, what have you got going on your channels? Actually, it's coming up next. We're going to do a live stream on Earl Grey Trekkie for Doctor Who. Another episode that Robbie was probably bored with. The Lazarus experiment. Awesome.
Oh, that's cool. Basically, we're discussing Lower Decks and Doctor Who. You can follow me at Earl Grey Trekkie on Twitter, where I post all sorts of ramblings and Star Trek quotes.
I love the quotes, Robbie. I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, they are good. They're very good.
Yeah,
they're brilliant.
Your Boimler one got a lot of attention. It was very cool. I saw it's getting shown, so that's good. Ruben, you can see him at ruben-rights.com, also at Pop Axiom. So anything new going on that you can tell us about? Because last time you were like, I can't tell you about this.
There's still projects I can't talk about, but no, I got an interview. I should have an interview coming out soon with what's the guy's name?
It's a bad sign if you can't remember.
It's Saturday, bro. I'm not thinking about work. But David Benjamin Steinberg, yes, the composer of no, that's the wrong one. Ryan Brett Puckett, the production designer of The Boy Behind the Doors. Oh, no, I already released that one. Mark Doring Powell.
Ruben has interviews coming out of his ears.
Yes, I do. And then I have some YouTubers coming soon, so I'm excited about that.
For that. Excellent.
Excellent. Pop Axiom, roomwork.com, ruben-rights.com. Projects I can't talk about.
But exciting ones when they drop. Very cool. So Commander Tall, you got your Twitter handles. You want to tell everyone how to find you?
Sure. Yeah, I don't have a huge online presence out there, but on Twitter you can find me at Subcommander T. It's pretty much original series stuff. I try to talk about or sometimes do live tweeting there. And then I also have another account at Mr. Leslie TOS, which is sort of a farcical account based on a red shirt in the background of the original series, which is going to take a break for a couple days out of honor of Eddie Paskey. But so those are my 2 things. Feel free to take a look.
And you participate in something I like. Whenever I can stay up late enough to do it. I love tonight is TOS Saturday night.
Yes, yeah,
where-
strongly recommend that. There's a number of live tweeting Star Trek episode events in here in the States, and TOS Saturday Night is the best of those. That but it's the guy who runs it or the person who runs it. It's based on the West Coast, so it's midnight Eastern Standard Time, so it's a little bit of a late night, but yeah, no, that's a ton of fun if you follow along with the hashtag TOS Sat Night.
It's really fun because you watch the episode and I drink when I do it, and then you're like also seeing these like funny comments. So it's like I didn't think it would work. Like I never thought that kind of thing would work, but it really feels like you're watching and like hanging out with like a bunch of people.
It really does. Yeah, I mean, it's
like
totally
really
because I've seen these episodes like 50 times. I mean, it's ridiculous how much I've seen these episodes, but it's like they're all new again when you have some of these comments to respond to, or you try to out snark her, and it's not too snarky. I mean, some of these can be. It's just all snarkiness, but these are people who genuinely appreciate the show and have a lot of love for it.
There's a lot of love and.
Yeah,
it's kind of like I was saying this about Lower Decks last night on Text Trek, where it's both reverential and funny at the same time.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like a lot of Trekkies do that kind of humor. Speaking of that, there's two other groups that you follow that I'm been interested in going into. One is EduTrex, right? Is that one of those groups also?
Oh yeah, that's run. His name is Chris at Shelf Nerds is his Twitter handle.
Right.
And every month he comes up with a series of daily prompts based around a theme. This month it's around education, and you participate as much as you want and try to find an example from any Trek series. It's not original. In fact, I would say most of them are not original series fans in particular. But yeah, kind of it's fun to start the day with that. If think of an example that fulfills the prompt and try to condense it into a tweet or two. So yeah, I definitely recommend that.
And you British folks will appreciate the nickname for people participating in TOS Saturday Night. They're known as tossers.
Oh.
TOSers, how about TOSers?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, TOSers.
Unfortunately, when you say it in the UK, if you say tosser, you've got to do that as well.
Oh, okay. It's a mean. I know it's a mean thing to say, but I thought it might be funny.
And then you have like a potluck dinner, and someone comes in going, "I brought the salad tossers."
Oh, that's right. Actually, that's funny. Oh my.
In that case, all you can have is if you did that, all you can have is special sauce.
Ian, do you have anything to promote?
Well, at the moment, as I said, my YouTube channel has been on hold for quite a while now. I've still
But you're starting to get settled in.
Yeah, I mean, this room is basically it's the last room to do. So next weekend we've got a bank holiday weekend, so I've got 3 days, and so I will be. I mean, I've got more of my Lego. I don't know if you can see it there. I've got more of my Lego up there now.
Yay! Looking familiar.
These are all still in the boxes, so they've all got to come out sooner or later, and I've got all my plates to do. So, and I've got more pictures to hang up. So. That'll be it. A friend of mine is trying to get me back into the Lego because I've seemed to have fallen out of love with it for a little while. But yeah, so I don't know when that's going to come back. It will come back, I promise. So there will be some new designs and new ships coming up, but primarily Twitter, Instagram, at TrekCat, and that's me.
Excellent. Tonight on thank you Boatwreck. I was just gonna actually synchronicity tonight on Boatwreck.
Babel.
Yeah, you can see the DS9 commentary that he and I did for or doing for Babel. So go check that out, and also go check out Text Trek. We had a lovely discussion yesterday about Lower Deck's latest episode, and there's a little kitty, yay. I got cats distract me. I like cats. And then if you guys want to check out more Starfleet Boy content, you can go to Starfleet Boy After Dark, where we have a rollicking good time and talk about not just Star Trek, but also a lot about Star Trek. Last night we talked about like Superman and Lois and stuff like that. And PJ from Boatwreck did a cool thing. So if you go now, so now you can just like click on the topics you're interested in, because he broke it down by topic and timestamp, and so you can just click and it goes right to that part of the discussion. So if you don't want spoilers for something, you can just skip that part, which is pretty cool. So thank you for doing that, PJ.
I've just got to add one more thing, and I forgot. I should have mentioned it, and I didn't. And it's something that we used to do a long time ago. We used to be captains on A Question of Trek.
Oh yeah, that's not
many moons ago.
That's not happening this weekend, though. I just found out from
okay. Oh, I was going to say, because I thought it was going to be this weekend. It was. We are now animated, aren't we?
Yeah, we're animated. It's
we are.
cool.
Myself and Starfleet Boy are now animated, and we are going to be on a prelim to Question of Trek again. So it's going to be interesting. I had a lot of fun recording it. Unfortunately, Starfleet Boy couldn't be there when we did the main recording.
But I contributed, so I sent my.
Yeah, you still. You still have plenty of lines for you to do, so don't worry. So if that's not going to be, I'm presuming then it could be next weekend. But yeah, if people actually just have a look at Question of Trek. If you like game shows and everything else, go and have a look. As I said, Starfleet Boy and myself, a long time ago we used to be team captains. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how we are animated, because I still haven't seen what you and I look like.
I think aren't we? We're still based on Steve's illustrations, right? I think, or no?
It's Zoe. It's Zoe that does it.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna be new.
So it's gonna be new. So it'll be interesting to see whether we've got beards or whether we've not got beards. Or
it'll be fun. It's true.
It's a fun. It's a 10-minute. It's going to be a 10-minute animated short. We're in it. It's very tongue in cheek. It's Star Trek, of course, but yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing it, to see what we look like.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And I think they've delayed it till next weekend, so we'll let everyone know about it again. And then tonight, sometime after our Doctor Who discussion, go back to Text Trek, because I'm gonna basically hang out with Fathery, and we're gonna talk about STLV, and he's gonna download everyone about his adventures at STLV, and I've got a bunch of questions, and I hope everyone in the audience here will show up and ask questions too. If not, I think there's a tweet probably where Fathery's like, "Ask me any questions, and I'll tell you no lies."
What time is that? Your time?
We're aiming for. It might be a little late for you guys, but I think we're aiming for like 6:30 or 7, right, Fathery? Give us a time, but I think it's 7. I'm pretty sure Eastern time, which will be 6 o'clock Central.
Robbie and Ian and go, what time is that our time?
Oh,
is that 11?
Like around 11.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe, maybe come hang out, and even in bed you can listen to us if you're like tucked in and you're ready for bed, and our dulcet tones can put you to sleep. So anyways, thank you everyone, thank you audience so much for joining us. This was really fun, as always. 7 East, okay, cool, so confirmed, so it'll be 11 BST. All right, live long and prosper everybody, and